Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to this night ending bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to this night ending bonus upload, shall we? Today's first subscriber submission. First, I'd like to thank you, Jeff, for taking the time to offer me a chance to share my experience. I'm kind of conflicted about whether or not I'd like my whole name to be used if you decide to share my experience, but I don't mind my first name and the state I live in and had my experiences in. I've only told my mom, my cousin, and a couple of friends. I've worried about talking about it because I don't want people thinking I'm crazy. I suffer from anxiety and depression, and I take medication for it. I'm very lucid. I've never suffered from any auditory or visual hallucinations. I think this is important for my experience, so I want to share this. I was given too much medication while being treated for postpartum depression in 2006, and it caused me to essentially overdose, and I had to be brought back from almost dying. That has also haunted me because I saw black. It was like I was aware of the black, though, as weird as it may sound. Looking back, that could have been me just being unconscious. But due to this experience, I've wondered if I actually crossed over, and I can sense and or see things I normally would not be able to. I've experienced nightmares about that night, and I've had feelings about certain places and people that I've never had before. There's been people who I have felt were just plain diabolical, but it's always just a feeling. There are places in the area I grew up in that I've had to leave because I've had these overwhelming feelings of needing to get out of there. It's difficult to explain, but I have sensitivities to things that otherwise wouldn't really upset me. The area I live in now is not where I grew up. I actually moved with my family to the area when I was 18 years old and after graduating high school in 2004. It was a definite culture shock when I moved here, to say the least, but I ended up moving out of the area a little less than a year later. I've always tried to be aware of my surroundings here due to the numerous bear, mountain lion, and other wild animals. The area I live in is very rural. We don't even have a stoplight in the county, and we are surrounded by woods and mountains. I do recall there being some sightings of an animal in the area that had been killing lots of farm animals about 10 miles up the road from the home that I lived in when I first moved here. A farmer had actually gotten a picture of the animal, and the local newspaper published an article about it. The animal was very strange because experts could not agree if it was a mix of bobcat and mountain lion or what. But it was a very perplexing animal. I did take precautions when the animal had been spotted because I worked the night shift at the time and would have to walk a little ways to my car in the driveway of our home, and the house was surrounded by lots of hills and wooded area. I never saw the animal, but sometimes I had heard growling and screaming in the distance, but always attributed it to sounds of mountain lions. When I moved back to the area in 2015, my mom had moved out of the home we had shared in 2004, and into an apartment following her divorce from my ex-stepfather. I was having a particularly difficult time because I had been in a very bad and sometimes abusive relationship and had to move in with my mom. I, in many ways, had to start over in life at 30 years old. I'm currently 32. And while it's hard having to start over, it's been nice to be with my mom and younger brother. The road to our apartment leads into the woods, and there's some homes that are built going toward the woods, but not many, and there are lots of undeveloped land. There are lots of pine trees and spaces where there aren't any homes or anything. Before you get to our apartment building, there is one short dead-end road that has some homes, and there's a clear path in the backyards of the homes where, from about 100 feet, where my road begins, to the road just above my apartment building, you can see down or up through the backyards, almost all the way down my road. Basically, if you were to stand in the backyard of a home on that street above my apartment building and look down, you'd be able to see almost all but 100 feet or so of the homes on the right side of that road and across the road from my apartment. I really didn't know many of the neighbors other than a casual hello and a wave. They're mostly older couples and a few families with younger kids, but they aren't really out a lot at night, especially late. Many of the people who live around here hunt deer, but not really near my apartment. There's an unspoken rule of respecting others' property at night, and everyone really sticks to that considering how many people own firearms around the county. I had gotten used to the neighborhood, and the neighbors knew I walked my mom's dog Ace at night. We walked during the day, but took much longer walks at night. We very much so enjoyed walking at night because it was way too hot to walk far during the day. This encounter occurred in June of 2016, and in a couple of weeks leading up to my experience, I had been feeling as if I was not alone when I would walk Ace at night. There were 2 instances before I had my encounter where I felt as if something was watching me as I walked Ace at night, but I never saw anything. The most alarming incident was about 5 nights before I saw something with my own eyes, and it happened as I was walking toward my home at around 12 o'clock night. I was walking down my road about 500 feet from the apartment, and I felt odd, but not overly freaked out. As I walked, I began hearing something. I heard distinct footprints behind me in the gravel, and thought for sure someone was walking up behind me. I stopped and turned around, expecting to see someone behind me. But as I stopped, so did the footsteps. I saw no one and no animals at all, so I was pretty scared. I tried to stop walking to see if I heard the footsteps, but I heard a few steps, then they stopped. I felt the hair standing on end, and I just felt like I was not alone. I really didn't know what to think other than I needed to get home, and I ended up running back to my house. I slammed the front door and locked it, but decided to take a peek out of the window because I honestly wanted to see what it could have been. There was nothing out there, and I was thoroughly freaked out. Part of me thought that maybe I was just really tired, or somehow my footsteps had made an echoing noise. But that had never happened before, and I felt like there was something out there with me. I did my best and tried to shrug it off, but decided not to take that route when I took my next walk. That route was just me taking a left after leaving the apartment and heading up my road, and then I would turn around about 100 yards up the road and head home. The new route I took Ace on consisted of me leaving the apartment, taking a left on the road, walking a couple of 100 feet to take a right onto a road at the loop. For probably about 100 feet, that road, at the time, was lined with pine trees on the right side until I would reach the driveway of my friend's home. I'd like to note that we didn't really know one another until later that June, after the incident. They are a married couple with 2 sons, and they were friends with my younger brother, and then I became friends with them. backyard connects with the two houses across the street from my apartment, and they have two dogs that sometimes are out at night in their dog houses. An elderly woman lives in the house next to theirs, and in between their home is where you can look down through the backyard of the house on my street. I would walk past the elderly's home with Ace and turn around, so the whole distance is maybe a half a mile or so. After taking the new route, the next incident happened a few days before the actual experience while I was walking Ace. As we walk up past the pine trees that lined the street, I noticed two wild rabbits just sitting about 10 feet from me and Ace. They weren't even fazed by Ace or me, and they looked scared to death. They seemed to be breathing heavily, but standing still. I tried to take a picture of them because it was so scary to me, but the moment I turned off my flashlight app on my phone to get to my camera, they dashed away. I also felt like something was on the other side of the pine trees, but I never saw or heard anything. It was just an eerie feeling. I chalked the incident up to them being wild rabbit, and maybe they were used to people. I kept walking before turning around and heading on home for the night. I tried to put it out of my mind and really didn't put it together with the feelings of being watched and followed by something. Looking back, it seemed the rabbits were running from something, but I never knew what it could have been. During those incidences, I felt fear, and the hair on my arms would stand up and on the back of my neck. I just never ever thought that it was something more than what I rationalized it to be. But those events were connected, and I wish I would have known that they were. Saturday, June 11th, 2016, the day leading up to the night of my encounter, was a very hot day. I planned on taking my nightly walk with Ace, but I was running a bit late taking him out for the final time before bed, so it was around 12:30, going into Sunday, June 12th. Before we headed out of the apartment for our walk, it was a cool night and the sky was clear with the moon providing a lot of light. I was still using my flashlight app, but it wasn't working too well that night, so it kept turning off and on. I didn't feel anything particularly off about the night, but I was frustrated with my flashlight app, continually cutting on and off. I heard distant barking and low growls, but I thought maybe those rabbits were around again. As I passed by the pine trees, I got close to my friend's house, and there are two houses on the left side of the road. Two houses, my friend's and the elderly lady. On the right side of the road, and the house straight ahead, as the road turns left. I usually go up to the second house on the left because Ace loves to check out the flowers that they had planted. And something stopped me. As I walked past the front of my friend's home, I noticed their dogs were whining and growling. I figured it was just an animal, but the dogs then stopped making sounds altogether. It was oddly quiet, and I honestly felt fear come over me, and I hadn't felt like that before, even with the other experiences. At that point, I hadn't seen anything. I just felt this dread, and I felt like I had been hit with a jolt of electricity. As I scanned the neighborhood to try and gather my senses of why and how I felt like this, I caught the glimpse of the figure standing by the window. In the house right next to my friend's home with the elderly woman. We couldn't have been maybe a couple of 100 feet apart with my friend's yard separating us. Ace saw the figure as well and started to growl and then whine. My eyes were fixed on the figure, and I could not process what I was seeing because it was solid black, darker than the night. It was hunched down, looking in the window of the home of the older woman. I thought maybe someone was trying to break in the elderly woman's home at first, but something told me the figure I was looking at was not human. I really can't explain why I felt that, but my body was definitely in fight or flight mode, and I just felt evil from it. I heard a low growling, but it didn't sound like it was coming from Ace or my friend's dogs. It was deep, and it just made my skin crawl, and I had not heard a growl like that before. As I stood there with my eyes fixed on this figure, it turned to face me, and that's when I saw its eyes. I was positive it was no person. The eyes glowed an orange-like color, and the eyes were perfectly but eerily round. It was as if the eyes were holographic, and they were just strange looking. It fixed its eyes on me, and I could not move. Ace went silent, and he was shivering as if he was cold. The figure had stooped down, looking in the lady's window, so as it turned to look at me, it stood tall. The road is on higher ground than where the figure was standing, but the figure was still about a foot taller than me. I'm 5'6", even on the lower ground. It had human-like hands, arms, legs, torso, but the head, while human-like, seemed to have the ability to move around more than a person can move their neck. It was a massive being and had a very animal-like movement to it. I couldn't make out any prominent features other than it was solid, dark black with glowing orange eyes. I could definitely make out legs, hands, feet, and arms, but any other features that a person would have were not there. I can only explain that it looked like a shadow, but solid, with holographic-like eyes. It started to hunch down again as we locked eyes, and I just remember the eyes glowing and shifting in the most horrific ways. It took a step towards me, and I thought it was going to attack me and Ace, because it was in position to run towards us. I was frozen, and I just wanted to run, but still could not move. All of a sudden, it turned away and sprinted down through the backyards of the home that lined my road. I tried to look to see where it was running towards, but it had just disappeared. When standing where I was, you can see down through the backyards almost all the way down my road, but the figure was gone. I was in shock and really was just trying to wrap my head around what I had just encountered. I finally regained my senses, and I ran as fast as I could back to the apartment with tears in my eyes. I felt adrenaline throughout my body. I was in panic mode. I immediately locked and deadbolted the front door. I went and checked the back door to make sure it was locked as well. I was operating primarily on fear and dread, and although the figure had disappeared, it felt like it was outside of my home. I was so out of breath that Ace seemed terrified because he immediately hid when we got back inside. My mom had already gone to bed before I had gone out. I needed to talk to her and just needed some sort of comfort. It took me a few tries to wake her up, but when I did, she was pretty freaked out by the way I was acting and was trying to do her best to calm me down. She got me to take some deep breaths. I sat down on her bed, crying and shaking. I don't think even at that point, only a few minutes later, I had truly grasped everything that had happened. I was not physically hurt, but traumatized. As I began to calm down, I started to explain everything to my mom. It felt like when I was little and telling my mom about something that had scared me, and it was really comforting to me. As I told her what had happened, I was afraid she would not believe me, or attribute to what I had seen to it being dark and my eyes playing tricks on me. But she listened and did her best to let me know that she knew I was telling the truth. She did ask me if I was sure it was not some sort of other animal or a person, but I let her know that it definitely was not anything like that, and it seemed dark and sinister. She asked if I could describe it to someone that could sketch it, and I told her yes, because although the encounter was brief, I kept my eyes on it as well. Also, like I'd said before, the moon provided a lot of light, and it wasn't too dark out at all. She asked if I had taken pictures of it with my phone, but I honestly didn't even think to do that because I was so freaked out. And to be honest, I don't even think my phone would have captured a good picture, because even though it wasn't really dark, my phone really didn't take great pictures unless there was an appropriate amount of light. Also, the flashlight app was cutting on and off on my phone. It just really wasn't working well that night. When you see something that brings forth such horror and sheer terror, you really don't think about capturing it on film, because you're only thinking about what you'll do to survive. Little Ace finally emerged from his hiding spot and immediately went to my mom and beneath the covers. I knew that he had known we'd seen something that was not of this world. I just talked with my mom for well over 30 minutes, and her reassuring me that I was okay and she would not let anything happen to me. I was still terrified, but I was calmed down now. I really wanted to let my mom sleep, and I decided to try to get some sleep myself. Poor little Ace seemed to be calming down, so I let him and my mom get some rest. I didn't sleep that night at all. I kept thinking about the figure and about why it was looking in the elderly woman's home. Any person in this area would know that most people around here are armed and probably wouldn't hesitate to use their weapon to protect their home and families. My friend that lives next door to the lady has a gun, and they kept it near their front door, so it's not a great idea to creep around people's home at night. I did not and will not ever agree that I saw a person, because it was not. Why didn't I see clothing or something? It was like a shadow with glowing eyes and movements that were akin to an animal. I just know that it has altered my life by changing my activities at night. I have nightmares about it, and I think about the encounter a lot. I stopped going outside at night because I was too afraid to do so. For the first few weeks, I wouldn't even look outside my windows at night. Mom would take Ace out to the grassy area by our apartment building for him to use the restroom, and we bought puppy pads to use at night. I had a difficult time even going outside during the day, but I did so for Ace. About 2 weeks after my encounter with that creature, my friend who lived next to the elderly lady told me and my mom that they had a falling out with the woman because she accused their 2 sons of trying to get into her home one Saturday night. As they told us about it, I realized it was the same night I saw that figure. I struggled with whether or not to tell them about what I had seen, but I knew that their sons were not outside at night. The boys were never out that late, and I would have recognized them for sure, because the one boy is about 10 years old and wasn't taller than me. The older son is 15, but he was not as tall as this figure at all. I decided it would help to let them know about it, but I was skeptical about them believing me. They listened and said that a couple of times before that night, they had trouble with their dogs acting strange, barking and growling, but they thought it was just a deer or another animal. I truly believe that the figure was responsible for the elderly woman accusing the boys of trying to get into her home. My friends never told the lady about what I had seen, because I think they didn't want to scare her, and I didn't want her to be afraid. I didn't know why it would have been trying to look into her house, but I believe it is not for anything good. Since I saw the figure, there have been times during the night that people would hear something outside on the back porch, but I never see anything. It's like human footsteps, and I get creeped out, feeling like the incident before. If anyone in the neighborhood has seen anything, I have not heard about it. I've heard of Bigfoot sightings in the county next to mine, but I don't believe it was a Bigfoot at all. Part of me believes that it was a demon. I know how crazy that sounds, but I just believe it's something malevolent. I've seen things about skinwalkers, and I've wondered about that. I've even considered it being a dogman, but I think that's just me trying to believe that it's anything other than a demon. The reason I chose to tell about my close experience with death at the beginning of the story is because the fear I felt then is the fear that I felt that night I saw the figure. It's something about the darkness of that figure and the darkness I encountered when I almost died that terrifies me. I do not ever want to see or feel that thing again because it was awful. This experience will stay with me forever. I still don't like going outside at night, but I have had to sometimes. I still look over my shoulder and feel like I'll encounter this figure again, but I thankfully have not yet, and I hopefully never will. I have many questions about this figure. I wonder what it was. Has anyone else ever seen anything like it? In one nightmare I had, there was a demon trying to tell me something, and then I woke up. I just thought of my encounter with the figure. I have considered investigating it further, but I don't really want to because I am afraid. I can't ever fully put it into words how much this experience has impacted me, but I am hoping that I've been able to recount it in a way that others may be able to connect with, and for them to get kind of a sense of the horror, so that maybe it may help them come forward with their experiences. I've had trouble with writing this because it brings back all those emotions and I can still see that figure. I guess it still haunts me so much just to think about it, like I've been sharing this, but the good thing is that as hard as this has been to share, I feel relief and a sense of peace. I just have one lingering question. Why did it run from me? Really quick, instead of talking about this encounter after the upload is done, I'd like to kind of talk about it while it's fresh in our heads. I don't feel like the subscriber saw a demon. I believe what she saw was a Dogman. My theory, I'm not discrediting or disputing how this woman feels about her encounter. I just think that there are certain things that fit a Dogman's MO. All right, well, you've got a farmer miles down the road that is complaining of missing and mutilated livestock. You've got very strange howls / screams in the area. You then see a creature, or an entity as you want to call it, squatting down or hunched over, looking into a person's window. Well, dogmen like to cause fear, panic. It's almost like they get a rise out of it. And who better to scare than an elderly person that's alone in their home? I think the Dogman would genuinely get a rise out of that, possibly causing her a heart attack. I think that would be very typical of a Dogman. Then the Dogman sees you and turns and runs. Obviously, it feels your sense of fear and your terror. Also, before you have this encounter, you hear footsteps walking, mimicking you. Very, very much like Dogmen and other encounters that we've heard do as well. Your dog is petrified of this creature. I really, for one, this is just my theory, feel like it's a Dogman. I wasn't there, so I can't, 100% dispute the facts and stuff, but I'm just calling it like I see it. The woman's obviously very brave to share her encounter with us, and thank you for doing that. And I hope that you did get help the first time around, and maybe the second time around some people will provide you with more positive feedback in the comment section. So with that, let's move on to the next encounter from a subscriber in a non-disclosed location. Today's second subscriber submission. This is cool. I'm enjoying how we're doing this, because as I'm going through the undisclosed or non-labeled locations, I just realized that the subscriber that shared this encounter or is sharing this encounter had sent me a previous encounter, and I figured out that this is from Arkansas. So very cool. Let's get into it. Hey Jeff, how are you? I honestly did not believe that you were going to share my encounters. Thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to remain anonymous. I had sent that experience to all of the guys that were involved, and they loved the way you narrated it. All of them subscribed, or at least told me they did. I wanted to buy your shirt, but I need a XXX. I do have another tale involving my brother and I. If you'd like to narrate it, that would be great. My brother and his family are close with me and mine, so we are always having cookouts. He and I would man the grill while the kids and the wives would be inside. My brother's place sits on 20 acres. We were outside after everyone had eaten, just talking while he was smoking. It was completely dark, and we're just chatting about all that and the fruit trees he had just planted. My brother had 2 Dobermans that were penned up and 2 Chihuahuas that were inside dogs. We were deep in conversation when my brother said, "Be quiet." Since we did so much hunting, we could read each other, so when one tells the other to be quiet or listen, we would be silent. After he had said be quiet, we heard a low groan at first, but then it turned out to be what sounded like several men being slaughtered. Then the coyote started howling from his pasture, then his Doberman started howling, and every hair on my body stood straight up. I had said to my brother, WTF, and he said, yeah, we might need to go back inside. So that is what we did. All of our years in the woods, we had never heard anything like that. Again, we didn't see anything, but it must have been traumatic for the Dobermans, because not long after that, they had escaped their pen while their Chihuahuas were out, and they had bit one of the Chihuahuas in half. My brother tried to put them back in their pen, and both of them tried to attack him. He has little kids, so do I, and he said he could not risk it, so the Dobermans had to be euthanized for the safety of the kids. He loved his dogs, so before anyone jumps on that kick, back in the day, they would have caught lead poisoning, if you get my meaning. Thank you for allowing me to get this out there. My brother is looking forward to you reading it. Thank you for your time, Jeff. Today's final Dogman subscriber submission, and by doing this, I just realized this subscriber is from Virginia as well. Hey Jeff, I had another encounter a few months ago, this time here at home at around 4 in the morning. I heard my lab, Max, barking up a storm, but not in an aggressive way, so I walked up to the kitchen window to see what was going on about. And what I saw sent numbness and fear throughout my entire body. What looked like a full-grown male dogman was paying what looked like a social visit to my dog. Max has a large fenced-in lot, so we keep him there during the night. He's a big dog and very much able to take care of himself, but he's also a big lug that does not seem to acknowledge danger, kind of like a big dog from Looney Tunes that acts dumb and says, "Where did he go, George? Where did he go?" Well, as I'm in fear for my dog's life, I'm able to see this thing from the streetlight that's behind our and our neighbor's fences. It was gray and not very muscular, but definitely toned with muscle. It had a bushy-like tail like a husky and cropped ears. It was lying in a knelt-down position, moving its upper body from left to right while kind of patting its hands or paws on the ground, like a dog would in a playful manner. Its mouth was open with its tongue out, like it was panting, and also revealing the most hellish set of teeth I had ever seen. And Max, that dummy, was running from left to right of his lot just like he was playing with it. It literally looked like they were 2 best friends playing tag. This entire time I'm scared to death because I thought I knew these creatures well enough to know they have no problem with what they kill, and what they eat. I just knew my dog was going to be on the menu as for the AM special. I have a Remington 770 300 Win Mag, but it's a bolt action with a 3-round mag. I can get one in the chamber while having 3 in the mag, but the fear of either this thing rushing me and I not having time to even get a clean shot was on my mind, plus the thought of, are there more of them out there, was playing on my fear as well. I know they run in packs, and most hunting packs range from 3 to 4, but as I'm watching it stand straight up with its snout up sniffing the air. I saw a solid white patch on its chest, and the balls the size of an Angus bull's junk. I grew up on a farm my entire life, and unfortunately seeing bull's balls comes with the territory of living on a farm. It had to be over 7 foot tall. The apple tree it was standing by is pretty tall, and it could have easily reached to the top of that with those long arms it had. Not even a few seconds after it sniffed the air, it turned towards the river, dropped on all fours, and ran like a bat out of hell. I'm saying this sucker was fast. Needless to say, sleep was no longer on my mind that night, so when daylight came, I went outside to see if I could find anything. After a while, I found one handprint on the side of my uncle's truck. I don't know if Dogman left it, but I know I had never noticed it there before. Not long after this encounter, my aunt and grandmother were on their way here to visit, and they were a little shook up when they got here and told us a massive black animal that looked like a giant wolf ran in front of their car, just as they were passing the exact same airport where I had my first encounter. They said it was on all fours, and it came way past the hood of their car. It's been a while since all this happened, and I haven't seen any sign of them being back. All the wildlife has returned around here as well, deer, turkey, duck, squirrel, etc. But now the bears are coming down from the mountains, which is unusual in this area. Yeah, bears are seen off and on around here, but not nearly as frequently as they've been lately. It's a bit surprising, but now that I think about it, I honestly don't blame a bear. I would probably be trying to put as much distance between me and those things as possible. Just because one was playful with my dog doesn't mean it was harmless. People need to realize they are predators, and they are very damn good at it. They do their best, which is to hunt, kill, and eat indiscriminately. I want to protect the species, but I want to protect my species from them as well. And there you have it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed this night ending bonus upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you, and I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go. And honestly, what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.